3 months after the Krovan retreat, Earth had transformed. The planetary defense shield, now permanently established and improved upon by combined human-Vantari engineering teams, encircled the globe in a barely visible shimmer that occasionally caught the sunlight like a soap bubble. But the changes went far beyond mere technology. Nathan stood at the window of the newly established Interstellar Relations headquarters in Geneva, watching shuttles from various Alliance species arrive for the day's negotiations. What had begun with a request for a simple bolt had catapulted humanity onto the galactic stage with dizzying speed. Admiring the view? Emily asked, joining him with 2 cups of coffee. She handed him one, steam rising between them. Hard not to, Nathan replied, accepting the cup gratefully. The lack of sleep was catching up with him. 6 different alien species arriving for talks with us in one day. If you'd told me this 4 months ago. Emily smiled, her eyes reflecting the same mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration that Nathan felt. The Vantari certainly have a unique approach to diplomatic relations. That's putting it mildly. Nathan sipped his coffee, setting up a crisis to test how we'd respond. I'm still not sure if I should be angry or impressed. Both, probably, Emily said. But you have to admit, it worked. The Alliance Council is taking our application seriously now. Nathan nodded thoughtfully. The test had revealed much about both sides. Earth had demonstrated not just technological adaptability, but ethical restraint, choosing defense over retaliation when the opportunity for the latter had presented itself. Meanwhile, the Vantari had shown that beneath their seemingly aloof exterior lay a pragmatic, even manipulative approach to interspecies relations. Commander Brooks, Dr. Parker, a voice called from behind them. They turned to see Coordinator Sethix approaching, accompanied by a new Vantari they hadn't met before. May I present Alliance Representative Lorith? She has just arrived from the Council homeworld to oversee the final phase of your world's evaluation. The new Vantari was taller than Sethix, her lavender skin a shade darker and marked with intricate patterns that Nathan had learned indicated high status among their people. An honor, Nathan said, inclining his head in the formal Vantari greeting he'd been practicing. Representative Lorith returned the gesture. The honor is mutual, Commander. Your world's response to the Krovan incursion has created quite a stir among Council species. Few candidates demonstrate such creative problem-solving. We're adaptable, Emily said with a hint of pride. It's something of a human specialty. So we've observed, Lorith replied. Though I must confess, not all Council members view this trait positively. Some express concern that your species might be too unpredictable. Nathan raised an eyebrow. Is predictability a requirement for Alliance membership? A sound emerged from Lorith that the translator didn't catch, something that might have been a laugh. Quite the contrary, Commander. The galaxy is full of predictable species. What the Alliance requires are civilizations that can approach problems from unique perspectives while adhering to core ethical principles. And where do we stand on that evaluation? Emily asked directly. Before Lorith could answer, an aide approached with urgent news. The Krovan had returned, requesting a direct dialogue with Earth representatives independent of Vantari involvement. Nathan exchanged a concerned glance with Emily. Is this part of another test? Sethix's expression remained neutral. The Krovan's actions are their own. The Alliance does not control them, though we monitor their activities closely. What do they want? Secretary Bennett asked, joining the conversation as she entered the room. Unknown, Lorith admitted. But this development presents an interesting opportunity. How Earth handles direct communication with a potential adversary will be informative. Secretary Bennett straightened her jacket. Then we shouldn't keep them waiting. Commander Brooks, Dr. Parker, you'll join me for this meeting. Representative Lorith, Coordinator Sethix, we welcome your observation but will conduct these negotiations ourselves. The Vantari inclined their heads in acknowledgement, and Nathan couldn't help but notice the subtle look of approval that passed between them. The Krovan delegation was waiting in the main conference chamber, 3 imposing figures whose ridged, gray-skinned features and glowing red eyes gave them a menacing appearance despite their formal diplomatic attire. The leader introduced himself as Imperator Dravix. "Humans of Earth," he began without preamble once everyone was seated. "We have analyzed your defense system extensively since our retreat. It is impressive, particularly considering the limitations of your technological development." "Thank you," Secretary Bennett replied coolly. "Though I suspect you haven't come all this way just to compliment our engineering." Dravix made a harsh sound that the translator rendered as a chuckle. "Direct. Good. Then I shall be equally so. The Imperium proposes an alliance with Earth, separate from your negotiations with the Vantari Alliance." Nathan kept his expression neutral despite his surprise. From the corner of his eye, he could see the Vantari observers stiffen. "An interesting proposal," Secretary Bennett said carefully. "What would this alliance entail?" "Exchange of technology and resources, military cooperation, mutual defense." Dravix leaned forward. "The Vantari portray the Imperium as conquerors, but we are merely expansionist. We recognize and reward strength. Your world demonstrated considerable strength by repelling your attack," Emily pointed out. "Precisely." Dravix's red eyes gleamed. "The Vantari Alliance is built on consensus and caution. Progress is slow, restricted by countless regulations and ethical considerations. The Imperium rewards innovation and decisive action." Nathan studied the alien carefully. "And what would Earth gain from this alliance that we wouldn't from joining the Vantari Alliance?" "Unrestricted technological advancement," Dravix replied immediately. "The Vantari will never share their most advanced technologies with you. They fear what you might become. We would impose no such limitations." Secretary Bennett maintained her diplomatic composure. "This is certainly a proposal that requires careful consideration. We'll need time to discuss it among our leadership." "Of course." Dravix rose to his impressive height. "We will await your response. But consider this, humans. The Vantari tested you without your knowledge or consent. They manipulated you into building defenses against a threat they deliberately brought to your doorstep. Is that the behavior of a trustworthy ally?" After the Krovan delegation departed, the room erupted in discussion. Security advisors argued for considering the offer seriously, while diplomats cautioned about the implications for the ongoing alliance negotiations. "What do you think they're really after?" Nathan asked Emily quietly as the debate continued around them. "The same thing the Vantari wanted," she replied. "To see how we'd respond. The difference is the Krovan are being transparent about their test." Nathan nodded slowly. "Or they're being transparent about one test while conducting another." Representative Lorith approached them, her silver eyes unreadable. "A most interesting development. Were you expecting this?" Nathan asked directly. "The specific timing, no? The eventuality of Krovan interest in your world?" "Certainly." Lorith gestured toward the window, where Earth's defense shield was visible as a faint shimmer against the blue sky. "What you've built here represents a significant strategic advantage, one that could shift the balance of power if aligned with either the Alliance or the Imperium. So we're just a strategic asset to be acquired?" Emily's voice held a sharp edge. "To the Krovan, undoubtedly," Lorith admitted. "To the Alliance, you are more complex. A species of contradictions. Technologically developing, yet remarkably innovative. Fractious in your internal politics, yet capable of unified action when threatened. Peaceful in your aspirations, yet formidable when provoked." Nathan crossed his arms. "You still haven't told us where our Alliance application stands." "It stands exactly where you place it, Commander," Lorith replied cryptically. "The final evaluation was always going to be how you handle competing interests. Now that evaluation has begun in earnest." The next week was a diplomatic whirlwind. The Krovan maintained a persistent presence, their massive ship hovering just beyond the shield perimeter as a constant reminder of their offer, and perhaps their threat. Meanwhile, Alliance representatives from 7 different species arrived to observe Earth's decision-making process, each bringing their own agendas and perspectives. In a secure conference room beneath the Geneva facility, Earth's Leadership Council debated their options late into the night. Representatives from every major nation participated, the crisis having temporarily bridged political divides in the face of extraterrestrial diplomacy. The Krovan offer technological advancement without restrictions, argued the Russian delegate. This could accelerate our development by centuries. At what cost? Countered his Japanese counterpart. Their history of expansion suggests they seek vassal states, not true allies. The debate continued in circles until Nathan, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up. "We're approaching this wrong," he said, drawing everyone's attention. "We're acting as if our only options are to choose one side or the other." "Aren't they?" asked the British Prime Minister. Nathan shook his head. Earth isn't some primitive world stumbling onto the galactic stage. In 3 months, we've taken alien technology, improved it, and created a planetary defense system that impressed both major powers. We're not just a prize to be won, we're a new player. Emily built on his point. The bolt the Vantari requested, we now understand its full significance. It wasn't just a component, it was a catalyst. They wanted to see what we'd do with it, how we'd integrate it into a larger system. And we exceeded their expectations, Nathan continued. We didn't just follow their blueprint, we enhanced it, created something neither the Alliance nor the Imperium anticipated. Secretary Bennett leaned forward, interest sparked in her eyes. "What are you suggesting, Commander?" "I'm suggesting we stop thinking like supplicants and start thinking like equals. We don't have to choose between existing power blocks. We can chart our own course." A thoughtful silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. Then General Mitchell spoke up. "A third option, neutrality, but from a position of strength." "Exactly," Nathan confirmed. "We continue developing our defenses independently while maintaining diplomatic relations with both the Alliance and the Imperium. We learn what we can from each without binding ourselves to either." By morning, a new approach had taken shape. Rather than responding directly to either the Alliance application process or the Krovan offer, Earth would announce its intention to establish itself as an independent but cooperative presence in galactic affairs. The announcement was scheduled for a formal session with representatives from both the Alliance and the Imperium present. Secretary Bennett delivered Earth's position with diplomatic precision, emphasizing humanity's desire for peaceful relations with all species while maintaining its sovereign independence. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. The Krovan delegation's ridged features darkened with what appeared to be anger, while the various Alliance representatives exchanged glances of varying emotions: surprise, respect, concern. "This is unprecedented," Coordinator Cethix finally said, breaking the silence that followed the announcement. "Is it?" Nathan asked. "Or is it exactly what you expected when you gave us that first bolt? You wanted to see what we'd build with it." "Well, this is what we're building. A future where Earth determines its own path." Representative Lorith studied him with those unsettling silver eyes. "You continue to surprise us, Commander Brooks. Few species have the confidence, some might say audacity, to reject both the Alliance and the Imperium." "We're not rejecting anyone," Emily clarified. "We're proposing a different kind of relationship. Knowledge exchange, cultural understanding, even trade, but as equals, not as subordinates or protectorates." Imperator Dravix rose abruptly. "The Krovan Imperium does not recognize neutral parties. You are either with us, or you are against us." "That would be a short-sighted position, Imperator," Secretary Bennett replied calmly. "Earth has demonstrated its defensive capabilities. We have no hostile intentions toward the Imperium, but we will protect our independence." The Krovan leader's red eyes narrowed. "This decision will have consequences." "All decisions do," Nathan said, meeting the alien's gaze steadily. "But threats aren't a promising start to interstellar relations." After a tense moment, Dravix gave a curt nod. "We will convey your position to the Imperium leadership." Without further ceremony, the Krovan delegation departed. "Well," Emily murmured to Nathan, "that could have gone better." "Or worse," he replied under his breath. Representative Lorith approached them once the room had begun to clear. An interesting strategy, humans. Risky, but interesting. Risk is part of growth, Nathan responded. Something I think the Alliance understands, despite appearances. Lorith's expression shifted subtly. Indeed. Which brings me to an overdue disclosure. The Alliance Council has completed its evaluation of Earth's application. Secretary Bennett rejoined them in time to hear this. And the result? Approved, Lorith stated simply. But not for standard membership. Emily frowned. What does that mean? It means, Lorith explained, that the Council has created a new classification for Earth. Independent Associate Status. Full protection under Alliance security treaties, access to knowledge exchanges and trade networks, but without the usual integration requirements. In essence, the very position you just declared for yourselves. Nathan and Emily exchanged surprised glances. That's convenient timing, Nathan observed skeptically. A sound like chiming bells emerged from Lorith, definitely laughter this time. Commander Brooks, the Alliance has existed for 12,000 years. We have learned to anticipate outcomes based on character and pattern. Your declaration today merely confirmed what many on the Council had already predicted. So this was all predetermined? Emily asked, clearly unsatisfied with the explanation. Not predetermined, Cethix interjected, joining the conversation, but considered likely based on our observations of human nature. You are fiercely independent yet collaborative when necessary. The standard membership model was never going to suit Earth. Secretary Bennett narrowed her eyes thoughtfully. So you engineered this entire scenario, from the Bolt request to the Krovan attack, to guide us toward this specific outcome. Engineered is too strong a word, Lorith demurred. Let us say, we created conditions that would allow your true nature to emerge. What you did with those conditions was entirely your choice. 2 days later, as preparations for formal treaty negotiations with the Alliance began, Nathan and Emily found a quiet moment in the facility's garden. The evening air was cool, and overhead, the shield occasionally caught the last rays of sunlight. Do you think they're still testing us? Emily asked, gazing upward at the technological marvel they'd helped create. Nathan considered the question. Probably, but I'm beginning to think that's just how advanced civilizations interact. Continuous evaluation, reassessment. It's exhausting, Emily sighed. I miss the days when the biggest question in my research was whether extraterrestrial life existed at all. No going back now, Nathan said with a slight smile. But maybe that's not so bad. Look what we've accomplished in just 3 months. Emily gestured to the shield above. We've certainly come a long way from a single bolt. That's what I've been thinking about, Nathan said, his expression turning serious. That bolt, its composition, its properties. It was never just about the physical component. What do you mean? It was symbolic. A single, small piece that, when placed correctly, becomes the linchpin of something much greater. Nathan turned to face her directly. The Vantari didn't just need a bolt. They needed to see if we could understand its purpose, its potential. If we could take something simple and recognize how it fits into something complex. Emily nodded slowly. And instead of just giving them what they asked for, we improved upon it. Created something they hadn't envisioned. Exactly. And now we're doing the same thing diplomatically, taking their initial framework and building something new. Nathan's gaze returned to the shield overhead. It's not just a defense system anymore. It's a statement about who we are as a species. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent notification. Sensors had detected unusual activity from the Krovan vessel still orbiting beyond the shield perimeter. They hurried back to the command center, where General Mitchell was already coordinating with defense teams worldwide. They're powering up weapons systems, Mitchell reported grimly as they entered. Looks like Imperator Dravix didn't appreciate our answer. On the main display, the massive Krovan vessel was visibly charging what appeared to be primary weapon arrays, energy signatures building to dangerous levels. Shield status, Nathan asked. Fully operational and at 100% capacity, a technician reported. The reflective calibration is active. Emily frowned at the readings. Something's different about their weapon configuration. They've modified their energy signature since the last encounter. Can the shield still reflect it? Secretary Bennett asked, joining them. I'm not sure, Emily admitted. They may have adapted specifically to counter our defense. Representative Lorith and Coordinator Cethix entered the command center, their usually composed demeanor showing signs of concern. The Krovan rarely accept rejection with grace, Lorith observed. But a direct attack after formal diplomatic exchanges is unusual, even for them. They're testing our resolve, Nathan suggested, seeing if we'll back down and reconsider their offer under pressure. A communications officer called out. Incoming transmission from the Krovan vessel. The main screen shifted to show Imperator Dravix, his expression severe. Humans of Earth, your decision to reject our generous offer requires a response. We will demonstrate why neutrality is not a viable position in galactic affairs. Imperator, Secretary Bennett began, this aggressive action is merely a lesson, Dravix interrupted. One you would be wise to heed. The transmission cut off abruptly, and seconds later, the Krovan ship fired. A massive energy beam, different in color and intensity from their previous weapons, struck Earth's shield directly above the Geneva facility. The impact was immediate and visible. The shield flared brilliantly at the point of contact, the usual reflective effect struggling to engage properly. Energy cascaded along the shield's surface in unpredictable patterns. Shield integrity at 82% and falling, reported a technician urgently. The reflective calibration is failing to engage. Emily was already at a control station, fingers flying across the interface. They've modified their energy signature to a frequency our system doesn't recognize. We need to recalibrate. How long will that take? General Mitchell demanded. Too long if they keep firing, Emily replied grimly. We need to buy time. Nathan turned to Cethix. Does the Alliance have defensive capabilities that could help us? The Vantari hesitated. Our nearest vessels are hours away at best. But, he exchanged a glance with Lorith, who gave a subtle nod. There may be another option. The bolt you provided us. The true purpose of that specific alloy composition is its ability to adapt to different energy frequencies. What are you saying? Nathan pressed. Your shield can learn, Cethix explained rapidly. It was designed with that capability, though we did not fully explain it during the crisis. If you can isolate a sample of the Krovan energy pattern and feed it through the primary calibration node. Emily's eyes widened with understanding. We could teach the shield to recognize and counter the new frequency, but we'd need direct access to the energy beam. Another impact rocked the facility, the shield flaring dangerously. Shield integrity at 67%, came the update. Nathan made a quick decision. Where's the nearest access point to a primary calibration node? There's one on the roof of this facility, Emily said. But Nathan, what you're thinking is our best option right now, he finished for her. To General Mitchell, he said, I need a team with me on the roof. And the most sensitive energy collection equipment we have. Minutes later, Nathan stood on the facility's roof with a small team of technicians and soldiers. Above them, the shield was visibly struggling, sections flickering as the Krovan continued their assault. Each impact sent waves of energy coursing through the barrier, some dissipating harmlessly, while others caused concerning fluctuations. The collection device is ready, reported a technician, indicating an apparatus that resembled a satellite dish connected to a series of instruments. But to get a clean sample of their energy pattern, we'll need to position it directly in the path of the next impact. Nathan nodded grimly, which means we need to predict where they'll hit next. Emily's voice came through as calm. Based on their firing pattern, I'm calculating the most likely target points. Stand by. Nathan scanned the sky, watching as another beam struck the shield several miles to the west, creating a brilliant flare of conflicting energies. The shield held, but the strain was visible in the way the impact point continued to shimmer and fluctuate after the beam dissipated. I've got it, Emily announced. Next impact will likely be within 500 meters of your position, bearing 047 degrees, in approximately 40 seconds. Nathan relayed the coordinates, and the team quickly repositioned the collection device, aiming it at the predicted impact point. "Everyone back," he ordered, taking position behind the equipment himself. "I'll initiate the collection sequence when the beam hits." "Nathan," Emily's voice came through with uncharacteristic emotion, "be careful. That close to an impact point." "I know," he replied simply. "Stand by to receive the energy pattern data and feed it to the calibration node." The seconds ticked down, tension mounting as they waited. Then, right on cue, another massive beam lanced down from the Krovan ship. It struck the shield almost exactly where Emily had predicted, less than 300 meters from their position. The impact was blinding, a surge of energy that made the air itself seem to vibrate. Nathan activated the collection device, which whined as it absorbed a sample of the chaotic energies cascading through the shield. Warning indicators flashed red as the equipment strained to contain the volatile energy pattern. "Collection complete," Nathan shouted over the roar of the continuing impact. "Transmitting data now." The data transfer had barely begun when the equipment overloaded, components melting from the intensity of the energy it had captured. Nathan and the team were thrown backward by a secondary discharge, landing hard on the roof surface. Through ringing ears, Nathan heard Emily's voice over the comm. "Data received. Feeding it to the calibration system now." Nathan struggled to his feet, helping the others up as well. Miraculously, no one seemed seriously injured, though several had minor burns and all were disoriented from the blast. Looking up, he saw the shield was still holding, but barely. Sections were fluctuating wildly, the normally smooth energy field now rippling like water in a storm. Another direct hit might break through entirely. "Emily, status?" he demanded into his comm. "Calibration in progress," she replied, tension evident in her voice. "The system is processing the new frequency pattern, but it's taking longer than expected. The energy signature is incredibly complex." As if sensing weakness, the Krovan ship repositioned, its weapons arrays glowing ominously as they prepared for what appeared to be a concentrated barrage. "They're going to hit us with everything they've got," General Mitchell's voice came through the command channel. "All personnel, brace for potential shield failure." Nathan watched helplessly as the Krovan weapons reached full charge. If the shield failed, the facility, and everyone in it, would be directly in the path of destruction. "Calibration at 89%, Emily reported. "We need more time." But time had run out. The Krovan fired, multiple beams converging into a single, massive energy spike directed straight at the Geneva facility. Nathan braced himself, knowing there was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide from what was coming. The combined beam struck the shield and held. Not only held, but the energy began to change color where it made contact, shifting from angry red to cool blue as the shield absorbed and processed it. "It's working." Emily's exultant voice came through the comm. "The shield is adapting." Indeed, the shield was not merely blocking the attack, but transforming it, the energy flowing across its surface in controlled patterns rather than chaotic dispersion. And then, in a spectacular display of technological prowess, the shield redirected the entire combined force of the Krovan barrage, sending it back toward its source with unerring accuracy. The Krovan ship, caught unprepared for the precision of the reflection, took the full force of its own weapons. Sections of its hull breached immediately, secondary explosions cascading across its massive form as systems overloaded and failed. "Direct hit," General Mitchell confirmed unnecessarily, as everyone could see the results displayed across the sky above them. "The Krovan vessel is severely damaged, and they're retreating, breaking orbit at maximum speed." Cheers erupted throughout the command center and among the team on the roof. Nathan allowed himself a moment of relief before heading back inside, where Emily met him with an impromptu hug. "It worked," she said, pulling back with a combination of exhaustion and exhilaration on her face. "The shield didn't just block them, it learned from them." Just as the Vantari intended all along, Nathan observed, looking over to where Sethix and Lorith stood observing the celebrations with what appeared to be satisfaction. Secretary Bennett approached the Vantari representatives. "It seems we've passed your final test." Representative Lorith inclined her head. "With unprecedented results, the Krovan will think twice before challenging Earth again, and the Alliance Council will be most interested to hear of these developments." "I still don't understand," Emily said, joining the conversation. "Why all the secrecy? Why not simply tell us the full capabilities of the technology you were sharing? Would you have believed us?" Sethix asked simply. "Or would you have suspected deception, manipulation? Some things must be discovered to be truly understood. And some lessons must be learned through experience rather than instruction," Lorith added. "Your species has demonstrated remarkable potential, humans. What you do with that potential now is entirely your choice." In the days that followed, as Earth formally established its unique relationship with the Galactic Alliance, Nathan often found himself returning to the roof of the Geneva facility. From there, he could see the shield that now protected his world, a shield built from alien designs but improved by human ingenuity, activated in crisis but maintained in peace. "Thinking deep thoughts?" Emily asked, joining him one evening as the sun set. Nathan smiled, just appreciating irony. The Vantari came asking for a simple bolt, claiming they needed it for research. Instead, they gave us the key to our own defense system. "And membership in their alliance, on our own terms," Emily added. "Not bad for 3 months' work." "It's just the beginning," Nathan said, gazing upward where the first stars were becoming visible through the faint shimmer of the shield. "We've taken our first steps into a much larger universe." Emily followed his gaze. "And we've already made quite an impression." "That we have," Nathan agreed. They came for a bolt and found a civilization ready to secure its place among the stars. I'd call that a fair exchange. As darkness fell completely, the shield above them captured the starlight, refracting it in subtle patterns that hadn't existed before, evidence of its continued adaptation and evolution. Like Earth itself, it was changing, growing, becoming something new. Something neither the Alliance nor the Imperium had anticipated. Something uniquely human. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story. The revelation of Noah's success spread throughout the Teldorian capital like wildfire. Citizens gathered in the streets, their faces turned toward the palace where the ancient dragon had manifested for the first time in millennia. Many fell to their knees in prayer, while others sang ancient hymns of renewal. Within the palace, chaos reigned. The Regency Council convened an emergency session, their traditional composure shattered by the unprecedented situation. "A human child cannot rule Teldoria," insisted Councillor Zarin, who had long supported Prince Ellerin's claim. "It defies all tradition, all propriety." "The ancient dragon has chosen," Thalix countered calmly. "The compact is clear on this matter. Noah Ellis is now the recognized heir to the eternal throne." "And what of the dragon itself?" asked another counselor. "It has left the sanctum. In all our recorded history, such an event has never occurred." Thalix had no answer for this. The ancient dragon had always remained within its sanctum, communicating with the outside world only through the chosen heir. Its emergence represented a fundamental shift that none could have anticipated. Meanwhile, in the royal apartments, Lyran watched as Noah sat cross-legged on the floor, seemingly in silent communion with the ancient dragon that hovered nearby, its form constantly shifting between states of energy and matter. "Can you understand what it's saying?" Lyran asked softly, not wanting to interrupt. Noah opened his eyes, those newly golden eyes that shimmered with inner light. "Not exactly saying," he replied, his voice still carrying those strange harmonics. "Showing. Teaching. Teaching you what?" "Everything," Noah said simply. The history of Teldoria. The true purpose of the compact. The nature of the crisis facing the 7 stellar nations. He paused, looking up at the dragon. And why I was chosen. Before Lyran could ask more, the doors to the apartment burst open. Prince Ellerin stormed in, flanked by 4 members of his personal guard. Their weapons were drawn. This abomination ends now. Ellerin snarled, his face contorted with rage. The human has bewitched the dragon somehow. It's an affront to nature itself. Lyran moved protectively in front of Noah, his hand going to the ceremonial blade at his waist. Stand down, Prince Ellerin. You risk treason with this action. Treason? Ellerin laughed bitterly. I am the rightful heir. This human is nothing but a usurper. Once he is removed, the dragon will return to its senses. Noah stood, his small form dwarfed by the adults around him, yet somehow commanding attention. The dragon chose me because I could see the patterns, he said. The same patterns you refuse to see, Prince Ellerin. The ones that show the future of your people. Be silent, Ellerin shouted. To his guards, he barked, seize the human. Kill the Guardian Commander if he interferes. The guards hesitated, their eyes fixed not on Noah or Lyran, but on the ancient dragon. The cosmic entity had risen to its full height, its form solidifying into something more definite, a creature of crystalline scales and energy that pulsed with barely contained power. It moved to position itself behind Noah, its massive head lowering until it was level with the boy's shoulders. No words were spoken, but a wave of emotion swept through the room, a psychic projection so powerful that even Ellerin staggered back. It carried no specific message, but the sentiment was unmistakable, a warning. The dragon protects me, Noah said quietly. Not because I control it, but because we understand each other. You could have understood too, Prince Ellerin, if you tried to listen instead of command. Ellerin's face paled to a sickly lavender. This isn't over, he hissed, backing toward the door. The people will never accept a human ruler. After Ellerin and his guards had departed, Lyran turned to Noah with concern. He's dangerous, Noah. He has supporters throughout the court. I know, Noah replied, reaching up to stroke the dragon's crystalline muzzle. The creature made a sound like distant wind chimes. But he's also afraid. The dragon shows me that fear is at the root of all this trouble. Fear of change, fear of difference, fear of the future. Lyran frowned. That's a remarkably mature observation. Noah smiled, and for a moment, he looked like the 7-year-old boy he was. I've always understood people better than they understood me. That's why the other kids at the orphanage thought I was weird. His expression grew serious again. The dragon says we don't have much time. There's something coming, something that threatens everyone, not just the Ellerins. What sort of threat? I'm not sure yet, Noah admitted. The images are confusing, but it has something to do with the barriers between dimensions weakening. The dragon was placed here long ago to maintain those barriers, but it can't do it alone anymore. This revelation stunned Lyran. The ancient dragon had always been presented as a symbol of authority, a living connection to the founders of Ellerin civilization. The idea that it served a practical, cosmic function had never been suggested in any historical text. We need to inform the council, Lyran said. Noah nodded. We will. But first, there's something I need to do. The boy closed his eyes, and the dragon moved closer, its energy merging with Noah's small form in a display of light that forced Lyran to shield his eyes. When the glow subsided, Noah stood unchanged physically, but there was a new certainty in his posture. I know what we need to do now, he said, his voice stronger. Call the council. It's time they learn the truth about the compact and the dragon. The Regency Council chamber fell silent as Noah entered, the ancient dragon flowing beside him like a river of light. The boy had changed from his ceremonial robes into simpler Ellerin attire, though he still carried himself with unnerving poise. High Counselor Thalix formally introduced him. Counselors of the Regency, I present Noah Ellis, chosen of the ancient dragon and heir to the eternal throne of Teldoria. The term eternal throne is misleading, Noah said immediately, causing several counselors to gasp at this breach of protocol. Nothing is eternal, not even the dragon. That's why we're here. Young heir, began Counselor Zarin with forced patience. There are traditional forms to be observed. We don't have time for traditions, Noah interrupted. The dragon has shown me what's coming. The dimensional barriers are failing. A murmur ran through the council. Felix leaned forward. What do you mean, child? Noah gestured, and the ancient dragon moved to the center of the chamber. Its form shimmered, then projected a three-dimensional image above the council table, a map of space unlike any the Ellerins had ever seen. It showed not just stars and planets, but overlapping layers of reality, like sheets of colored glass stacked upon each other. Our universe isn't alone, Noah explained, pointing to one layer. There are others pressing against it. The founders of your civilization knew this. The ancient dragon was created to help maintain the boundaries, using the quantum consciousness of the Aileron people as an anchor. Created, echoed a counselor. The dragon is a natural cosmic entity. Noah shook his head. It was engineered by the first Ellerins, using technology they brought from another dimension before the boundaries were established. The trial of Draconis wasn't meant to select a ruler. It was meant to find minds compatible with the dragon's quantum matrix, minds that could help it maintain the dimensional barriers. The revelation stunned the council into silence. Finally, Felix spoke. If what you say is true, then why has the dragon chosen you, a human, after rejecting generations of Aileron heirs? Because human minds work differently, Noah said. We're adaptable in ways other species aren't. The ancient dragon was designed to interface with Aileron consciousness, but your people have changed over the millennia. Your minds have become too structured, too logical. The dragon needs a mind that can embrace chaos and order simultaneously. And you can do this? Zarin asked skeptically. In answer, Noah reached up to touch the dragon's form. The projection changed, showing a cascade of dimensional breaches, tiers in reality that spilled energy and matter between universes. These breaches have been appearing throughout the 7 stellar nations for the past century, Noah said. Your scientists have classified them as spatial anomalies, but they're much more dangerous than that. Each breach weakens the overall structure of our dimension. If they continue to spread, eventually our reality will collapse. What can be done? Felix asked, his usual composure shaken. The dragon and I can repair the breaches, but not alone, Noah explained. We need to establish a network of quantum consciousness anchors throughout the 7 stellar nations. Minds trained to help reinforce the dimensional boundaries. And these minds would be human? Zarin asked, his distaste evident. Some would be, yes, Noah acknowledged. But others could be Aileron, Viridian, or any species with sufficient neural plasticity. The important thing is diversity of thought, different ways of perceiving and processing reality. For hours, the council debated Noah's revelations. Some dismissed them as fantasies, while others feared the implications too much to accept them. Through it all, Noah remained calm, allowing the ancient dragon to provide visual evidence that gradually convinced even the most skeptical counselors. If what you say is true, Felix said finally, then we face a crisis unlike any in our history. Yes, Noah agreed, but also an opportunity. The compact that governs the 7 stellar nations was created to maintain peace, but it's become rigid, focused on preserving power structures rather than serving its original purpose. And what purpose was that? Asked Counselor Zarin, now less hostile but still wary. To unite different species and ways of thinking against a common threat, Noah said. The founders knew diversity was strength when facing dimensional instability. That's why they formed the alliance in the first place. As the council session concluded, Felix pulled Lyran aside. Do you believe him? These claims about dimensional collapse seem fantastical. Lyran watched as Noah continued to interact with other counselors, the boy's hands moving animatedly as he explained complex concepts in simple terms. I believe the ancient dragon believes it, he said carefully. and Noah has demonstrated abilities beyond explanation. Whether the threat is exactly as he describes it or not, I think we must take it seriously. Prince Ellerin is gathering support, Felix warned. Many of the noble houses find the idea of following a human child difficult to accept, regardless of the dragon's choice. Then we must work quickly to implement Noah's plan, Lyran replied. Success will be the most effective counter to Ellerin's arguments. In the days that followed, Noah began what he called the awakening process, a series of sessions where he and the ancient dragon worked together to identify potential quantum consciousness anchors among the Aileron population. To everyone's surprise, they found the highest compatibility not among the nobility, but in ordinary citizens, artists, musicians, dreamers, and children. Creativity involves seeing new patterns, Noah explained when Lyran questioned this pattern. The rigid thinking required for political success works against quantum sensitivity. Progress was swift, but not without opposition. Prince Ellerin continued to denounce Noah as an usurper, gaining support particularly among the military caste who valued tradition above all else. Rumors spread that the human child had somehow corrupted the ancient dragon, turning it against its true purpose. Tensions reached a breaking point 3 weeks after Noah's ascension, when the first major dimensional breach appeared in Teldoria itself, a swirling vortex of energy that manifested in the central market district, destroying several buildings and injuring dozens before dissipating. It's happening faster than I expected, Noah told the emergency council session called after the incident. The dragon senses more breaches forming throughout Aileron space. Can you stop them? Felix asked urgently. Not yet. We need more anchors, and they need training. But there's another option. Noah turned to the ancient dragon, which had remained by his side constantly since his ascension. The dragon can temporarily stabilize the local dimensional boundaries, but it would require channeling significant energy through a compatible mind. Yours, Lyran said, understanding immediately. Noah nodded. It's dangerous, but necessary until our network is established. Absolutely not, Lyran protested. You're just a child. The strain could kill you. I'm not just a child anymore, Noah said quietly. Not since the trial. And this is why I was chosen. Despite fierce objections from Lyran and several counselors, Noah proceeded with his plan. In the palace courtyard, surrounded by worried officials and curious citizens who had gathered despite security cordons, Noah sat cross-legged before the ancient dragon. The process will look frightening, he warned those present. But don't interfere, no matter what happens. The dragon coiled around him, its form expanding until it enveloped the boy completely in a cocoon of energy and light. From within, pulses of power began to emanate, spreading outward in concentric waves that rippled through the air like heat distortions. Lyran watched in horror as the cocoon contracted, squeezing tighter around Noah's small form. Screams echoed from within, the boy's voice distorted by pain and power. Several guards moved forward instinctively, but Felix held up a hand to stop them. We must trust him, the High Counselor said, though his own face betrayed his concern. The process continued for nearly an hour, the energy pulses growing stronger and more frequent. Instruments throughout the capital registered quantum fluctuations of unprecedented magnitude. Then, with a final, blinding flash, the dragon's form exploded outward, reforming beside a crumpled figure on the courtyard stones. Lyran rushed forward, fearing the worst. Noah lay unconscious, his small body covered in a network of golden lines that resembled circuit patterns. They pulsed with inner light, fading and brightening in rhythm with his shallow breathing. Noah, Lyran called, gently lifting the boy's head. Can you hear me? Slowly, Noah's eyes opened, still that unnatural gold, but now filled with exhaustion. It worked, he whispered. The barriers are stabilized for now. Reports soon confirmed his claim. The forming breaches throughout Aileron space had sealed themselves. Quantum disturbances had returned to background levels. Whatever Noah and the dragon had done, it had bought them time. Recovery took weeks, The golden circuits on Noah's skin slowly faded, though they would flare briefly whenever he communed with the dragon. During this period, Lyran rarely left his side, becoming not just a guardian, but something closer to a parent figure for the orphaned boy. "Why did you really choose me?" Lyran overheard Noah asking the dragon one evening as they sat together on the balcony of the royal apartments, watching Teldoria's 3 moons rise. The dragon made no sound audible to Lyran, but Noah nodded as if receiving an answer. "I thought so," the boy said softly. "You were lonely too." When Noah noticed Lyran watching, he smiled. "The dragon says it chose me because I was like it, alone but not lonely, seeing patterns others couldn't see. But I think there's more to it. I think it knew I needed somewhere to belong, just like it did." Lyran moved to sit beside them. "And do you? Belong here, I mean." Noah considered this, his golden eyes reflecting the moonlight. "I'm not sure anyone really belongs anywhere," he said with that disconcerting wisdom. "But we can choose where we want to be. I choose here." The stabilization bought precious time, but Noah insisted they use it wisely. The program to identify and train quantum anchors accelerated, with the ancient dragon personally evaluating candidates. To everyone's surprise, when other species from the 7 stellar nations learned of the program, many volunteered, including humans from the colonies. They sense the danger, even if they don't understand it, Noah explained. All sentient beings can feel when reality itself is threatened. Prince Ellerin, however, saw the influx of off-worlders as further evidence of corruption. 6 months after Noah's ascension, he made his move. With support from conservative military commanders, he seized control of the planetary defense grid and issued an ultimatum. The human child must relinquish his claim and depart Teldoria or face armed intervention. "This is madness," Felix declared when the council received Ellerin's message. "He risks civil war at the very moment we need unity." Noah, who had grown several inches taller during his months on Teldoria, but was still very much a child, watched the holographic message with a sadness beyond his years. "He still doesn't understand," he said. "Even after everything that's happened, he can't see past his own fear and pride." "We must respond with force," urged the military counselor. Ellerin's faction controls significant resources, but the bulk of the fleet remains loyal to the council. "No," Noah said firmly. "Violence will only make things worse. The dimensional barriers are already strained by negative emotions and conflict. A civil war could rupture them completely. What alternative do we have?" Lyran asked. "Ellerin won't back down. He's convinced himself that removing you will restore the old order." Noah turned to the ancient dragon, which had remained unusually quiet during the crisis. After a moment of silent communion, he nodded. "There is another way," he said. "But it's risky, and I'll need Prince Ellerin to agree to a direct meeting." The meeting was arranged on neutral ground, the Temple of Eternity, an ancient structure predating even the Ellerin civilization, built by unknown hands and respected by all factions. Ellerin arrived with a full honor guard, his scarred face set in lines of determination and hatred. Noah came with only Lyran and the ancient dragon, which had reduced its size to move more easily through the temple's corridors. "You have one chance to surrender your false claim," Ellerin stated without preamble. "Do so, and you may leave Teldoria unharmed. Refuse, and I cannot guarantee your safety." "I understand your position, Prince Ellerin," Noah replied calmly. "You believe you're protecting your people and their traditions. But there's something you need to see first." Before Ellerin could object, Noah nodded to the ancient dragon. The cosmic entity expanded suddenly, its energy filling the temple chamber. Before the prince's guards could react, a bubble of force surrounded Noah, Ellerin, and the dragon, cutting them off from everyone else. "What treachery is this?" Ellerin demanded, reaching for a weapon that was no longer at his side. "Not treachery," Noah said. "Truth." The dragon's energy enveloped them both, and suddenly they were no longer in the temple. Or rather, they were in the temple, but also somewhere else. a space between dimensions where reality itself was visible as overlapping layers of light and matter. Ellerin gasped, staggering in the unfamiliar environment. What have you done? Where are we? This is the interspace, Noah explained, his form glowing with the same energy as the dragon. It's where the ancient dragon does its real work, maintaining the boundaries between dimensions. All around them, Ellerin could see cracks forming in the layers of reality, fractures that leaked chaotic energy. Some were small, barely noticeable. Others gaped like wounds. The breaches are getting worse, Noah continued. Every conflict, every strong negative emotion, creates resonances that weaken the barriers. Your hatred, your fear, they're making things worse. This is some kind of illusion, Ellerin protested, but his voice lacked conviction. It's real, Noah said. As real as Teldoria. More real, in some ways. This is what the ancient dragon was trying to show you during your trial, but you couldn't, or wouldn't, see it. The dragon moved through the interspace, its true form now fully visible. Not just the physical manifestation it presented in normal space, but a complex matrix of energy and consciousness that extended through multiple dimensions simultaneously. The dragon wasn't testing your worthiness to rule, Noah explained gently. It was looking for a partner to help save reality itself. The Ellerin founders knew that dimensional instability threatened all existence. They created the dragon as a guardian, but it needs compatible minds to work with. Ellerin watched as the dragon approached one of the larger breaches. Energy poured from the cosmic entity, sealing the tear temporarily, but the effort was visibly taxing. It's losing ground, Noah said. There are too many breaches forming, and not enough anchors to help maintain the barriers. That's why we need everyone. Ellerins, humans, all the species of the 7 stellar nations. Different minds see different patterns. Together, we can reinforce the barriers in ways no single species could manage alone. For long moments, Ellerin stood silently, watching the dragon work. Finally, he turned to Noah. If what you're showing me is true, why was I rejected? I committed my life to the trial, prepared for years. Because you sought to command, not understand, Noah said. The dragon doesn't need servants or masters. It needs partners who can see the universe as it does, as patterns of possibility and connection. Something shifted in Ellerin's expression, not surrender, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. And you can do this? Work with the dragon to seal these breaches? Not alone, Noah admitted. The strain is too great for any single consciousness, even with the dragon's help. That's why we're building the network of anchors. But it would be stronger with you in it, Prince Ellerin. Your mind is powerful, just rigid. The dragon can help with that, if you let it. The ancient dragon approached, hovering before Ellerin. The prince stared into its multidimensional form, seeing for the first time the vastness of its consciousness and purpose. What would I have to do? He asked finally. Open your mind, Noah said simply. Let go of what you think reality should be, and see what it actually is. When they returned to the physical world, Lyran and the guards found Noah and Ellerin standing together, the ancient dragon coiled around them both. The hostility had vanished from the prince's face, replaced by an expression of wonder and exhaustion. There will be no conflict, Ellerin announced to his stunned followers. I have seen what the child and the dragon are fighting against. Our traditions mean nothing if reality itself collapses. In the months that followed, a remarkable transformation took place throughout Teldorian society. With Prince Ellerin's support, the Quantum Anchor program expanded rapidly. The ancient dragon, working through Noah and an ever-growing network of compatible minds, managed to stabilize the most dangerous dimensional breaches. Noah himself continued to grow, both physically and in his understanding of his role. Though technically the heir to the eternal throne, he focused entirely on the dimensional crisis, leaving day-to-day governance to the Regency Council. Power was never the point. He explained to Lyran one evening as they walked through the palace gardens, the ancient dragon drifting lazily above them. The Ellerin founders understood that. The compact wasn't about ruling. It was about protecting. Somewhere along the way, that got forgotten. A year after Noah's ascension, representatives from all 7 stellar nations gathered on Teldoria for an unprecedented summit. The dimensional crisis had finally been acknowledged publicly, and cooperation between formerly suspicious species was becoming the norm rather than the exception. During the opening ceremony, Noah, now 9 years old, but with the bearing of someone far older, addressed the assembled dignitaries. The ancient dragon hovered behind him, its form shimmering with anticipation. "A year ago, I was an orphan with strange dreams," Noah began. "Today, I stand before you as proof that our differences are our greatest strength." The ancient dragon chose a human child not because humans are superior, but because we think differently. Every species here has unique mental patterns, unique ways of perceiving reality. Together, we form a tapestry of consciousness that can reinforce the very fabric of our universe. He gestured, and the dragon projected images of the quantum anchor network, thousands of minds across dozens of worlds, connected by lines of energy and purpose. "The dimensional breaches are stabilizing," Noah continued. "With each new anchor, the barriers grow stronger. But our work is just beginning." The founders of the compact knew that maintaining reality was an eternal task, one that required constant vigilance and cooperation. As he spoke, the ancient dragon expanded its form, creating a dome of energy that encompassed the entire assembly hall. Within that dome, all present could briefly perceive the inner space, the layered reality that the dragon guarded. "This is what we protect," Noah said as gasps of awe and fear rippled through the crowd. "Not planets or territories or traditions, but existence itself." The founders understood this. Now, we must remember. The summit concluded with the signing of a new compact, one that acknowledged the dimensional crisis and formalized the quantum anchor network. Species that had been enemies for generations found common purpose in facing a threat to all reality. For Noah personally, the year brought another significant change. After months of legal proceedings and diplomatic negotiations, Lyran Valis was granted formal guardianship of the human child who had become so central to Teldorian society. "You don't have to do this," Noah had told him when Lyran first proposed the idea. "I'm not really a normal child anymore." "Perhaps not," Lyran had replied. "But you still deserve a family." The adoption ceremony was a simple affair by Aileron standards, attended only by close allies like Thalix and, somewhat surprisingly, Prince Ellerin, who had become one of the strongest quantum anchors in the network. "The irony isn't lost on me," Ellerin said afterward, as they shared a traditional meal. "I spent years resenting you, only to find that you've given my life more meaning than the throne ever could have." Noah smiled, for a moment just a boy pleased by an adult's approval. The dragon says that's how growth usually works. We resist what we need most. The ancient dragon, present as always, chimed softly in agreement. Later that night, as Teldoria's 3 moons rose once more into a clear sky, Noah stood on the balcony of what was now officially his home. Lyran joined him, still sometimes amazed by the journey that had brought them together. "Thinking about Earth?" Lyran asked, noticing the boy's pensive expression. Noah nodded. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if you hadn't found me at the orphanage. If I'd just stayed on Novaterra, never knowing about the dragon or the dimensional breaches. Do you regret coming here?" "No," Noah said firmly. "I missed Earth at first, but now." He gestured at the cityscape below, where lights twinkled like earthbound stars. "Now I have a home, a purpose, a family." He glanced back at Lyran with a smile. "And the dragon says we're just getting started." Above them, the ancient dragon soared in lazy circles, its form shifting between states of matter and energy. To ordinary observers, it might have seemed like an alien creature performing an aerial dance. But Noah and Lyran knew better. The dragon was working, constantly sensing and reinforcing the boundaries between dimensions, protecting reality itself. And it was no longer alone in its eternal task. Throughout the 7 stellar nations, quantum anchors, Aileron, human, and dozens of other species joined their minds with the dragons, creating a network of consciousness unlike anything the universe had seen before. In the heart of the royal palace, in what had once been the dragon's sanctum, a new monument stood, a crystalline sculpture showing a human child and an ancient dragon, their forms intertwined in a symbol of unity and purpose. Beneath it, an inscription in the languages of all 7 stellar nations told a simple truth. From the most unlikely beginnings come the greatest heroes. From the greatest differences come the strongest bonds. Noah Ellis, orphaned from Nova Terra, had found his destiny among the stars. And the ancient dragon, guardian of reality, had found its most perfect partner in a child who understood what it meant to be alone but not lonely, to see patterns others missed, and to bridge worlds that had long been separate. Together, they had rewritten the future of not just Teldoria, but all reality. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also, leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.